Let's see what I think about the position of this baby.
Thousands of babies are born exposed to their mother's drug use every year.
For me, I feel like me using drugs when I'm pregnant, that's the lowest I could have possibly gone. It's the one thing I said I would never, ever, ever, ever do, and I did it.
Australia's been in the grips of one of the world's worst ice addictions for the last decade. But the cost to the next generation has remained hidden. This is a story about an issue no one wants to deal with.
I've been in hospitals begging, crying for help, and they've just looked at me like you're a worthless junkie kind of thing.
We're going to have incarcerations, we're going to have addictions, we're going to be paying for it as a society.
For these children, the consequences can be lifelong.
I was exposed to drugs by my biological mother. The only reason that I am the way I am is because of that.
Oh, buddy, come here.
But right now, there's no diagnosis and very little research.
These people need help. Stigma is just huge, and we have to grow up as a society.
In hospitals and rehab centres, we meet women fighting to overpower addiction before it's too late.
At the end of the day, I've got to tell myself that there's a cut-off period. I don't want to hurt my baby.
I'm about to head into the special care nursery here at the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne. It's where they look after really sick and premature babies. What you might not know is there are also babies here withdrawing from their mum's drug use. So how many babies a year would you see in here who have been prenatally drug exposed?
90 to 100 are coming through every year.
That seems like a lot.
We're seeing more and more of this as an issue in our community. It's incredibly urgent. Come on in, come and wash your hands.
Yes, just here?
Yep, roll your sleeves up, wash your hands.
Midwife Elvira is increasingly seeing babies affected by methamphetamines or ice.
What are some of the telltale signs that a baby is withdrawing from something like ice?
Babies who are withdrawing from ice can present with feeding difficulties, so they can have real issues with the coordination of their jaw, which means that they can't suck at the bottle or the breast. These babies can also present with tremors or jitters, so just a real pronounced shake in their hands. And they can be either quite irritable and agitated babies who are difficult to settle, or on the flip side, they can be babies who are lethargic, who are struggling to wake up. And if we don't take action to really get the right amount of milk into them, they can then start to miss some of those milestones.
The Women's Alcohol and Drug Service, or WADS as it's called, is a specialised clinic for pregnant women with complex substance use issues. It was originally set up in the 80s at the time of the heroin epidemic. But now ice is the #1 illicit drug they're dealing with.
Ice passes from the mother's bloodstream to her brain, but it also passes from the mother's bloodstream across the placenta and into the baby and into the baby's developing brain.
How concerned are you if a pregnant woman comes to you and there is meth use involved?
Well, it is a real health concern, and typically when mothers come to us, they're fully aware of that and they're wanting to work on it. The reality is that methamphetamines are highly, highly, highly addictive, and when someone's using them on a really regular basis, it can be incredibly difficult to stop. We should be paying attention to this across the nation. We are one little hospital, and this is something that happens in every community.
Unlike heroin, there's no replacement therapy medication for meth. The only treatment is detox and counselling. In northeast Melbourne, I'm visiting a women's-only residential rehabilitation centre. It's one of only a handful in Australia that allows mothers to stay with their children on site during treatment.
So a pregnant woman can come here, have her baby, and then return here and continue on with rehab.
Bridgehaven is an 18-bed facility run by the Salvation Army.
Good morning.
Mornings here begin with a group check-in.
You really can lose the obsession to use drugs or impulsively use drugs.
Somewhat of a daily confessional of the highs and lows of recovery.
I haven't had my kids for 4 years and I'm finally getting to see them on the weekends.
I hit rock bottom. I was in trouble with the police. It was jail or come to rehab.
I've made one big step in my life to come here and be in this recovery with all you lovely ladies. Yeah.
Today I'm feeling motivated and excited.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
In addiction, I never looked at myself in the mirror. Now in recovery, being here, I'm getting all my teeth pulled out, so I get my falsies soon. I can actually smile because I used to always do these ones. Put my hand over my mouth when I talked, when I ate, everything. Yeah.
Today, there's a new resident moving in.
She's 28 weeks pregnant, so she will be giving birth whilst at Bridgehaven. So we'll have another Bridgehaven baby.
Awesome.
Yay. And there's a good group of women here too, very supportive.
24-year-old Alicia has travelled 4 hours from a regional town to be here.
So we've got your key and we'll go into your room, show you around, do a bag check. So again, amazing that you got here.
I'm excited to be here. I made it. No.
You did.
Yeah.
Let me carry that because that's too heavy. Yeah, we'll swap you. Here you go.
Thank you. Which way are we going?
Just through here. After you.
It's not easy to get a bed here. On any given day, there are more than 800 people on the wait list for residential treatment in Victoria alone.
Ooh, it smells nice in here.
Alicia was prioritised because she's pregnant, but it still took a month to get in.
And I know you don't need the cot yet, and we'll move that out for you.
This is a big room.
Yeah.
It is, it is.
It is.
And not long until I'll have my baby in here too, so it will feel better. My first was born at 37 weeks, so I'm guessing in the next 8 weeks she's going to be here. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
For the past 7 days, Alicia's been in detox, a condition of entry for any new residents here.
What was it that you were detoxing from?
So I was detoxing from cannabis and ice, yeah. So I haven't used ice the whole pregnancy, but I kept relapsing and I was using cannabis. But I definitely don't want to do any of that ever again, so I'm in the right place for that.
Can you try and explain to me why you use, even though you are pregnant and you know that in your head?
Well, I can't even really give you a solid answer, but like I didn't plan to get pregnant, so I was already using when I fell pregnant. There's a lot of stuff that's happened in the last 3 years that, you know, I've tried to like forget about. So, you know, I just was using. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, I thought, well, how am I going to live with myself when I have to have this baby and look at this baby and know that I use when I'm pregnant? So I have to make some positive out of this, you know.
What we're going to start looking at is your
Later, at her first consult, Alicia tells her case manager it's been difficult to find help.
There's been points in my life where I've been in hospitals and I've been like begging, crying for help, and they've just looked at me like you're a worthless junkie kind of thing, you know, or you're just drug affected.
So do you find people don't understand addiction?
Yeah, they don't. But also, when you're going through trauma and addiction at the same time, you need help for that. And it's shameful to be even reaching out for help as a pregnant person using drugs, but like, if I can do it and I can get better and I can be a good person for me and my kids, maybe I can help someone else.
has been in rehab for the past 3 months. She recently gave birth to baby Lockie.
Hey Terry.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good.
This is Lockie.
This is Lockie? Oh my God, look at his hair.
It's crazy.
Does everyone say that?
Everyone does, get stopped in the shops all the time.
He's now living with her as she completes the program.
So can you tell me a bit about how you've ended up here?
So I had a 19-year addiction of weed and ice, and I tried quitting a few times, been to Detox 3 times, but never ever considered rehab because I thought I was too good, I could do it myself. Clearly I wasn't. I've got a few children.
So Lockie's not your first?
No, Lockie's my 8th.
Wow.
Yeah, my lucky last, my lucky 8th.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, come here. Come here. What's wrong? Oh, mate.
This is the first time in 2 decades that Terry Ann has completely stopped using drugs.
So you haven't touched ice or cannabis in 7 months?
No. It was really hard.
Yeah.
So I was like a everyday user.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to wean myself off it and then just, yeah, pretty much quit.
I guess just doing the maths though, that means that you were still using for some time during the pregnancy?
For the first month to the 3rd month of Lockie's life, of growing inside me, I did, yeah.
How does that make you feel now, looking back on that first trimester, knowing that you were using during that period?
It was hard. Like, I feel happy now that it wasn't the whole way through like the other children. In the past, with one of my children, they were withdrawing, and that was because I used the whole way through the pregnancy. I couldn't stop, I was still in that bad addiction.
Yeah.
I tried to stop, but I just couldn't. That full big belly you got. You all right, buddy? Got bones in it.
Have you forgiven yourself for using during the pregnancies?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Well, I used to blame myself for a lot of things, but in my eyes, it's not really my fault. Something happened to me when I was a 13-year-old child, which started my addiction from 13. That's all I really knew. So I didn't know any different. It was just, yeah, a repetitive cycle.
It's like coming from 2 points of view for me, because I've met you now and I can see how much you obviously love Lockie.
Yeah.
And for me, it's trying to correlate that with you being pregnant and taking drugs at that time. And, you know, you just think that a mother's love is going to trump all. How do you kind of explain why the drug can win over the safety of your growing baby?
It was hard. I tried a lot of times to stop, but I guess the more you take, the longer you take it, the addiction just stays there. Addiction is a very vicious cycle.
Okay, just bring up the results.
Drug testing isn't mandatory, but some residents are regularly screened to keep themselves accountable.
The last one.
Terry Ann's latest results have just come back.
Terry Ann's results have come up all clear for any substances, and we haven't had any issues with any of her results that have come through.
And that's all clear since she got here?
All clear since she's come in, yep, correct.
Hey guys.
Yes. Take a seat. We're just finishing up.
What makes Bridgehaven different to many other rehab programs is its approach to addiction.
But I guess it's probably an interesting time too to say, like, there's a lot of rehabs out there, so what was your reasoning behind choosing this one?
There's that flexibility to have your child here with you. That is incredible.
The number one is no men. Feel safe as, and I know I can't fall pregnant.
Can we say hallelujah?
The program tries to keep women in treatment whatever it takes.
Do you kick people out if they come here for treatment and then they end up taking drugs throughout?
No, we don't. We recognise that relapse is, a chronic condition, and, we work with people relapsing. We do not discharge people for the very behaviours that, they're here to change.
The use of methamphetamines across Australia is rampant. It's considered our most harmful illicit drug.
Hi, Dan.
Hello, Grace. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Come on in.
Former Crown Prosecutor Dan Howard was the commissioner of a special New South Wales inquiry into ice.
Please be seated.
He received hundreds of submissions and heard hours of evidence, including from pregnant drug users.
The stigma is just huge, and we have to grow up as a society and get over it. These people need help. Harm reduction is the key, and the only way you're going to help these people reduce the harm is by encouraging them to come forward rather than stigmatising them.
Particularly for pregnant women, did you find that the stigma was even worse than a regular drug user?
To be honest, I think that a lot of people are reviled by the thought that, how could a mother-to-be continue with the use of drugs? But to feel that way is immature. It shows a complete lack of understanding of the nature of addiction.
It's
one of his key recommendations was to decriminalise personal use and instead treat meth addiction as a health problem. So far, the ACT is the only place in Australia to do this.
If we address these things head on, squarely, with a proper policy, we will save money, hand over fist. There is no doubt about that. And if you add the productivity of people, if they're well again, if they have received the treatment that they need, we'll be a much healthier society.
Women who use ice during pregnancy have often experienced immense trauma from domestic violence to childhood sexual abuse and have complex mental health problems. Poverty and homelessness are also common.
So we're going to visit this place here called the Living Room. It's basically a service for people who are sleeping rough in crisis situations, and I'm told that this is also where a lot of pregnant women who have drug issues turn up as well when they have literally nowhere else to go.
The drop-in centre provides free meals and medical appointments, including an on-site GP.
Oh, hello, it's Dr. Daniela speaking.
This morning, Dr. Daniela is trying to contact a pregnant patient who's due for a checkup.
Oh, from the living room. Have I got... Oh, have you? No worries. So Davita's coming in for her follow-up appointment today. Just a general checkup and a chat.
Davita's been homeless for the majority of her pregnancy.
She hasn't engaged much with services in the earlier stages of the pregnancy, but the past 3 weeks since she's been housed, she's been attending WADs, and she's coming in today to have a checkup here, which has been great. But it has taken her a while to get to this point, so yeah, hopefully everything's going okay. 5 minutes away. Oh, that's good to hear. Okay, no worries. We'll see you when you get here. Okay, bye-bye. Ta.
Come on, babe.
An hour later, Davita and her partner Daniel finally arrive.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
That's good. Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good.
That's good, good. And how's the baby been going?
A lot of movement.
So I'll do your blood pressure.
Yep.
Have a feel. Do you mind lying on this? Oh, wow.
It's only 16 days until Davita's due date.
Sorry.
Oh, you got the due date there in case.
Yeah.
Dr. Daniela is eager for her to have another ultrasound before the birth.
He's measuring a little bit small, bub. So he's measuring about 33 centimetres rather than 37. So I just want them to have a good look at that. Hopefully you don't go into labour before Monday, so we can get some preparation in.
Yeah.
Later, Davita tells me her substance issues are weighing heavily on her.
What are those concerns? What are the big worries on your mind at this point?
Just like with anyone, if they do needles or, you know, you could OD, you could have a shot, you could have it dirty, anything. And it can happen to a baby any time, you know, like a baby's only tiny and the amount of drugs that a drug addict takes on and injects in their body is way more than what a poor little baby can have, you know, like. From the start, it's been not just my life that's in, you know, in jeopardy, it's babies as well.
Why isn't it as easy, though, as just saying no? And, like, obviously there's something more there for you that keeps drawing you back to it.
I think it's a craving, but at the same time, I don't want to hurt my baby. At the end of the day, I've got to tell myself that there's a cut-off period. So I've got to really do it myself, but I can't in a state where it's, you know, it's so tempting. Yeah. It's the temptation too that it lures you to it. You know, like you just give in.
It'll be good to go.
Davita comes here for help a few times a week. She's only recently been housed somewhere she can take her baby home to. Part of the struggle, she says, has been the stigma she faces at every turn.
There's plenty of it, like even with just body language, how people look at you. Yeah. And that's what makes you want to hide out and makes you want to just numb it once again. And it brings you back to step one of the depression, yeah. It is hard, but at the same time, yeah, like you got all these people in here that help out. So, yeah, it sort of takes your mind off it. And, yeah, just sticking with the positivity is the main thing, yeah, that's getting me through. And now having the house, it's like lifted a weight off my shoulders so much.
So it's hope in a way. You feel some hope now?
In the end, the temptation goes because you're getting confidence then. And with the confidence, it's the best feeling.
There is hope even when a pregnant woman is using drugs. Steps can be taken to minimise the risks.
It just takes a weight off your mind.
That's right. Yeah. You're not doing this alone.
No.
At the Women's Alcohol and Drug Service in Melbourne, pregnancy is treated as a window of opportunity to stop addiction.
It is a time when women are super motivated, and we know that there is always potential to improve the situation. So we know that even if babies are drug exposed, a reduction in the amount of drugs makes a difference. We know that if mums can perhaps cease their drug use by the time it's the third trimester, then the baby's very unlikely to go through a difficult withdrawal after birth and need medical treatment there. Whenever we meet a woman on her journey, we can make a difference.
And so today you'll find
Today, Alicia has come in from rehab for a checkup.
How are you feeling physically?
I'm excited to see the baby.
You've definitely popped since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I know. All we do is eat. I want my baby to be healthy and stay in as long as she can.
And have you been asking lots of questions about, you know, whether there's going to be any impacts from the earlier drug use?
They seem to think everything will be fine, so...
Because you stopped early enough? Yeah.
And I've, just been eating and doing all the right things now, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hi, Alicia. Hi. I'm Robin. Lovely to meet you. Can we come on through?
Yeah. Alicia's now 3 weeks into her recovery.
Beautiful. So this is baby's head here, down the bottom. And then going up here, we can see baby's heartbeat. I'll have a little listen here too for you. Oh, and a kick. I felt that too.
Yeah. Obstetrician Dr. Robin Thurman specialises in high-risk pregnancies.
Awesome. Yeah, so all looking good. Well done.
Okay. So what is it that you're looking for where there has been some drug use during a pregnancy?
So if a woman has used drugs in pregnancy, then we can see that the baby may not be as big as expected. And also we know that there is a higher risk of preterm birth. That's not something that we can always predict though.
There is only one study in the world that's tracked the long-term effects of prenatal meth exposure on children as they grow up. University of Auckland professor Dr. Tresha Walds is one of the lead researchers.
There isn't any other longitudinal research, and we have followed them at a number of times, at birth, at 1 month, at 12 months, at 24 months, and on and on and on. And we're currently doing a follow-up at, the kids are 11 to 16.
What have been your key findings of the impact on children?
Over the first 3 years, we found that there were differences in motor development, and in male babies, there were differences in their early problem solving, early language, those kinds of things. They were likely to walk later, sit up later. Over those first 3 years, we found the methamphetamine babies were lagging behind.
In New Zealand, she's found that as these kids develop, some issues can intensify.
What about these two children?
The thing that we see the most is poor behavior on these children. A conduct disorder is likely to be what you're going to see as they get older.
Red.
When I talk to principals of primary schools, we're finding that if you've got 4 or 5 children that have been exposed to methamphetamine in their classrooms, it can be incredibly disruptive for the whole school.
Does meth use during pregnancy essentially cause brain damage?
It does affect the brain, but it isn't irreversible brain damage because the brain is very plastic. So if you go into a home where there's a lot of money and there's early intervention, these children can probably have, a similar life to a normal child who isn't exposed to this drug. However, it's not just the drug, it's also sometimes environments where there's domestic violence and poverty and other factors that we know affect child development.
Disturbing data is now emerging in her current study of teenagers.
These kids are reporting now self-harm. They're reporting thoughts about suicide. Some have attempted suicide. We haven't analyzed all of our data yet, but it is a poor story for these kids.
Hello, Terry Ann.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
How's Lockie?
He's great.
Come on through.
At the Women's Alcohol and Drug Service, babies are followed up for the first 2 years of their life, even though there's only government funding for 6 weeks.
Remind me how many weeks he is now?
12.
12 weeks exactly.
Yep.
Great head of hair you have there, mate.
He does.
Terry Ann has brought Lockie in for a checkup with neonatologist Dr. Anna Topman.
And my hands are cold, sorry. Push them back. Ready again? Swing from side to side. Look at that, lovely and stable.
What are you doing?
And look at that lovely head control.
Yeah.
And you can see that he's moving his legs beautifully.
Hello.
Oh, good chap. All right, gold star. Come on. Speak back down.
Terry Ann is told Lockie's progress so far appears promising.
Well, he's growing beautifully.
Yeah,
Good on
he
you.
is.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
And, you know, his development looks really on track at the moment. So
Cool.
he's got lovely head control. He's obviously really alert and interested.
Yeah.
All right, young man.
He'll come back for another checkup in 4 months.
Oh, grumpy bum. You can't just sign these children off at 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months and say everything's okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Because their brain development is ongoing for really the first 2 years very rapidly and throughout childhood after that. It's too late once they're already delayed. You need to know beforehand which babies we should be supporting, because if you miss that window of brain plasticity in early life, you'll never get that back.
In Sydney's western suburbs, Dr. Stacey Blythe sees the long-term consequences of prenatal drug exposure every day. Her foster son Bryce was placed into her care as a toddler.
When he first came to me, he was absolutely gorgeous little boy, but he was 2 years old and he was wearing a size 0. And he was very small for his age. And so that really started my investigation. I took him to a pediatrician and had him looked at, and he underwent some tests and found that his growth hormone was low, and he's still quite small in stature compared to his peers. He also has issues with his eyes, and then, of course, behavioral and neurologic issues as well. And they just slowly start to become apparent as they grow and develop, and they're not necessarily meeting their milestones like they should.
Stacey started researching to find out how she could help Bryce and other children she cares for. As an associate professor, she now publishes papers on prenatal drug exposure.
When you understand the behaviors, when you understand the deficits, and you understand the cause of them, it helps you to address them in a different way. It's not their fault. And I think it's the most important thing is to remember that. It's not their fault. They didn't have a choice. And children are full of potential. So if I have the right information and I have the right support, I can make all the difference for them.
What are some of the impacts that you've noticed over the years?
I guess just understanding things, learning, so school, even at my place of work and my career, just I have to be trained to do stuff, and just intaking information, how I understand it, how it needs to be given to me. In order for me to understand things, it's different to a lot of people. It takes me a little bit longer. But once I've got it, and then it just stays.
Was that difficult during school?
Yeah, learning in school was very difficult. But I know I'm smart and I know I can do it. It's just the way I learn is different.
Now 19 years old, Bryce is fully aware he was exposed to drugs before birth. Do you ever feel frustration for your biological parents for putting you in this situation?
All the time. I know some, I guess in a way, they couldn't control it because of addiction, but it does frustrate me because when I experience issues related to being prenatally exposed, the frustration goes to them, because the only reason that I am the way I am is because of them. There's no other place to shift blame. It's at their doing.
What do you think could have been some of the outcomes for you if you hadn't been placed in Stacey's care and had such a loving family around you?
Based off some of the friends I've had who've been in similar situations, I could have ended up in custody, could have ended up incarcerated, on drugs, could have ended up in every bad path that there possibly is. I've always been proud of myself, because anytime, like with all the issues that I face, if I can overcome and adapt to them, then that's an achievement for me.
This is what a journey looks like when you care for a child who's been prenatally substance exposed. It's very easy. It's from A to B. What I've learned over the years is sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards, turn around, sit down, touch the ground, wish you had a drink yourself, and then get up and keep going. It can be very, very challenging.
Stacey now trains other foster carers to help them understand what their kids may be going through.
Inside, so
cells called neurons are...
This is what's happening to these unborn infants as these parts of their brain are developing. And so one of the
main frustrations she hears from carers is the lack of support for these kids.
Methamphetamine and amphetamine are both on the rise.
Unlike fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, there's no diagnosis or specific funding for prenatal drug exposure.
When I got my son at 7, he just didn't have the ability to cope at school. And so we're putting him into a situation that he just did not have the ability to cope in.
It's scary, isn't it? Out of all of the kids in the school, surely these are the ones that should be, we don't have the funding, there's no funding for.
In America, illicit drug use during pregnancy is considered child abuse in 25 states. Dozens of women have been prosecuted for neglect or manslaughter.
We work with amazing people.
Kate Alexander from Child Protection in New South Wales says it's a dangerous approach.
I really worry about stigmatisation and criminalisation, and there's little evidence that it works to reduce drug use. And what we're on about in this urgent time for babies is a reduction in drug use.
To be clear though, is your department's priority with the human rights of the pregnant woman or the human rights of the unborn child?
Absolutely, my priority is with the safety of the unborn child. And the person most important to that baby is its mother, and we need to do everything we can to support that woman to stop using.
The criticism will be though that that's a soft touch.
If you saw the way our prenatal caseworkers work in a supportive environment with health at the table, you would never describe it as a soft touch. What it is an ethical approach where mothers are given all the information they need, including the dangers to their children, and it's a harm minimisation approach.
One of the biggest barriers stopping pregnant women from asking for help is the fear their baby will be taken away.
Is it conflicting at times in your job, balancing that with the protection of the unborn child?
The protection of children, the safety and well-being of children is always our first priority. But what we've learned, and what's been a really good development in our work in the last couple of decades, is that the best way to make children safe is to work with the person most important in the world to them. And for unborn children, that is the mother. And so compassion for the mother is being child-focused. But they also need clear and urgent advice about their drug use and its impact on their babies. And we want them to talk and be open with us, not hide from us.
So many of the mums that we're meeting are telling us that their own mothers also struggled with addiction. I'm on my way now to meet up with Terry Ann, who's trying to break that cycle with her newborn. She's really close now to graduating from rehab, and she's allowed out on weekends to set up her new home. Hello.
Hello.
Hey Terry Ann, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good.
Come in.
This is your place then?
This is, yeah. This is my humble home.
Which one's Lockie's room?
Lockie's room is down here. Oh, this is like, doesn't even look like his room at the moment.
You're still setting it up?
Yeah, I am, yep.
Yeah. Oh, this will be so cute though.
Yeah. Yep, so that's...
Moving into her own place is a huge step forward for Terry Ann, who was homeless for part of her pregnancy with Lockie.
Just knowing I've got a home is a godsend. Like, I'm blessed, I really am.
This will be a completely new chapter for you.
Most definitely, yeah. I'm so proud of myself, to how far I've come. I never ever thought I'd make it. Never ever thought I'd come out of addiction. Never ever thought I would have this beautiful child in my arms. So yeah, in my eyes, I've come really far.
Because you've come so far, do you get scared of losing any of it?
Nah, like I haven't had any urges, I haven't had any triggers, I haven't had anything. I'm surprising myself, to be honest. But I always got to keep that in mind, that anything could happen at any time. just be aware of my thoughts and any feelings that go through my body for a lapse or a relapse, but I personally honestly don't think I will. I've got too much to lose. I couldn't think of a day or a night or a minute or an hour without Lockie, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's amazing to see you now, and I didn't know the Terry Ann back then, but
you wouldn't have wanted to be honest. I was always scared to know what the real me was like, but I mean, I'm still in early recovery, but I like me now. Like, yeah, I love me. I've always hated myself. I love myself now. I honestly thought, yeah, it was too late for everything and anything, but it's never too late. Don't wake up. Not that time. Great. Let's go.
It really matters to look after mums in pregnancy. Before a baby is born, the mum is this baby's entire life support system. And the more we can support a mum to reduce or perhaps even stop her drug use, the better the outcomes are going to be for this baby. It is an excellent form of investment in the health of future generations to support women before they are pregnant and during their pregnancy.
I follow the rules.
No, because auctioning you never do.
I'm a rule follower. No, you don't. You're a rule.
It is easier to turn a blind eye, and it's easy to pretend that it doesn't exist.
As always.
But these children, their lives matter. You know, they didn't choose to be born into the contexts that they have. So if we pay attention and we give them what they need and we support their carers and their parents, then we're going to have healthy adults contributing to society. If we don't, then we're going to be paying for it as a society. We're going to have incarcerations. We're going to have addictions. It's not a hard fix. It's investing early on for long-term outcome.
A week after meeting Davida, she gave birth to a baby boy in the back of an ambulance. He was in hospital for a couple of weeks, but has since gone home with Davida. Alicia's given birth to a baby girl. She plans on staying in rehab with her and completing the program.
Thank yous for coming. I've learned a lot in these 16 weeks and I'm just so happy and proud of myself for making it.
And know that you've always got us.
Terry Ann recently graduated from Bridgehaven.
This is the beginning of the rest of your life.
She's now living in her new home with Lockie.
If this program has raised concerns for you, you can contact one of these services.